Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's Devin Thomas back with another episode of Unscripted. It's been a good week. It's been a long week. It's actually a pretty chill week. It was interesting. I feel like this was the true first week of fall. I had a lot of rain, fucking on top of it just being the hottest it's ever been. Even today, it's like 80 degrees right now. I'm dying in the hoodie, believe me. But yeah, got out and about, did a lot of fun shit. I feel like my week was interesting. I know I was over in Carmel like 2 or 3 times this past week, I think. Maybe that was last week and this week blending together. Had to deal with some more of Stevie's health shit. He's feeling better, but he's thinking some of the things he did to remedy his situation may have actually caused more problems, so he's looking into that. But besides the point, new mattress is working out good for him. He actually spent the night at my parents' house last night just because he thinks it might be the house. At this point, we're trying everything. Like I said, we're leaving no stone unturned in regards to his personal health. But yeah, that's kind of been something that it's been just like, if you've been listening, you know it's an ongoing thing. And like, it's unfortunate, but it is a reality. And, you know, I can't not talk about it because it's happening every day here. But yeah, we did some fun shit, though, outside of his medical shit. We actually had the chance to test the camera a bit. I've been shooting on like, you know, some Sony lenses, and they're great. They're really good. But when I went and shot Peninsula Nights, I shot on like Cinema Primes, right? Specifically, or more specifically, Zeiss glass. And like, I swear by Zeiss, you know, I remember always wondering, like, how do people get that look? And I remember at film school, the first time I popped like a Zeiss CP2 onto a fucking camera, like a red, I was just like, well, that's it. That's it right there. So that wasn't lost on me in the moment. And I've always thought, like, God damn, like, I say Zeiss is nice, and I'm sure a lot of other people do too. But it's kind of the gold standard, I feel like, for cinematic looks. I think another time I really realized how powerful the Zeiss look was when I was watching Taxi Driver. I know I've talked about this movie a million times, and I'll probably talk about it a million times more. But yeah, I remember Scorsese said something that shot on these really fast. The name's escaping me right now. I want to say they're MK2s. But yeah, they're like super speed. So they're shooting at a really, you know, fast aperture at night. So you just get so much light in the lens. And yeah, it causes a more shallow depth of field, but you get such a good image in the dark, which is, you know, I love to shoot movies at night. I just like nightlife in general. So there's something about the night, you know. This is off topic a little bit, but like, I have like an entire list of movies that almost take place entirely at night. Like, you know, Nightcrawler, Drive, Terminator, like the OG. It's almost an entire night movie. And there's something comforting about that. And there's so many more. I'm omitting quite a few. I mean, even the original Halloween, or most of the Halloweens, most horror movies tend to take place at night. But you get this great aesthetic, and there's something about it, something about the nighttime. Maybe it's because we spend most of our time alive and awake during the day, and the night seems a little bit more fascinating. There's something exciting about it. Anyways, besides the point, we've been testing lenses, doing a little lensing. It's funny because I shot Peninsula Nights on a Zeiss, and like a 50 millimeter lens, a prime lens. And the thing is that like, it definitely gave us the Hollywood look on top of using a red cinema camera and all that. And it was, you know, had the low light capability with the camera and the lens. And it was just funny because the Sony lens is incredibly good, but there's something about the bokeh that always felt a little like, I wouldn't say it's artificial, but it had the sense that it obviously is a extremely nice and expensive lens, but it doesn't have the prime lens factor, which the real deal with prime lenses, the reason why people tend to like, you know, avoid them, is that there's no autofocus capability. So like, even on Peninsula Nights, like, I had to pull focus myself the entire time, which if you're not a cinematographer or not a, you know, a fucking gearhead, it probably doesn't mean a whole lot, but it means like every time they were walking or taking steps, like, I had to keep the camera in focus manually, which it's a tall order, and it's a much more difficult task than you'd think. I'm not trying to, you know, jerk myself off here. I'm just saying it was tough. And so we were exploring the options of doing more autofocus driven cinematography on the next few projects, which the lens I'm shooting on right now is actually the Sony lens I'm referencing. It's a fantastic lens. It's a great lens. I have nothing against the lens. The autofocus is the finest autofocus in the world. You could not buy better. You could not find better. But there is still something about the way some of these prime lenses look. And lensing has always been something that's fascinated me in regards to filmmaking and cinematography. I've always been like, what's the kit? Like, the first thing I do when I watch a movie is go on IMDb and I look up either who's in it and who made it. And usually I already know that going in. Look up the DP, and then I look up the kit. Because, you know, the kit is so important to shaping the film's aesthetic and how it's going to feel. And, you know, in the digital age, seeing something shot on like 35 or 16 or even 70, 65 millimeter blown up to 70 it's incredible because it's something that it's like a lost art. Now, you could still get results very similar to that with a digital camera, but I think lensing plays a major factor in that when you're actually trying to get a look for a film. So I've been talking about Unscripted, I've been talking about Slugger, I've been talking about all the film projects to come, and we decided to pop the old Zeiss 50 onto the Sony. We had to buy this adapter, right, which was, was actually really cool. We got this Metabone speed booster adapter, and now my Sony can take my Canon EF lens, and it's on there, and it looks beautiful. Honestly, it's like it transformed the way the Sony even looked. I already thought the Sony looked so good. I've been shooting with it for, 7 or 8 months now on the pod. It's great. Love it. This just made me love it more. There is something about the Sony Zeiss combo that is just, it creates a beautiful image. And a problem we kept running into with the Sony glass, especially in low light or in a more cinematic setting, where you're going to have a little bit more shadow, or maybe just, I like to use available light. In this scenario here, I think if you're watching, you can see there's light, right? The blue light, the white light. This is like a studio lighting setup. Most of the time when I'm shooting in the real world, I am not setting up lights. I am not gaffing. I have some lighting, but I'm not fucking shutting down the street to set up C-stands and, like 10K lights. It's just not something I'm doing. So that being said, having the Zeiss lens with, maybe the quicker aperture and some other features makes it so that gives me a little bit of help when I'm doing that. And also a big reason I shot on the Red camera on Peninsula Nights was I wanted to have a camera that I could go into post and do a lot of correcting if I did say like I shot something and like the exposures were off. The thing that, what you're paying for with the Red is you're able to go in and post and change your ISO. Even if you didn't capture it at that ISO, it records all the different ISOs. So you could shoot it at the fucking worst settings and just go back and correct it later and be like, all right, I fixed it. I call it idiot proof. Not that I don't trust myself with cinematography, but when you're going out to shoot a feature and you're going to put hundreds of hours into a project just out in the field, then come home and put hundreds of hours into it just in the edit, you want some insurance. And when you're doing it on a low budget, you spend money where it matters. For me, I spent money on camera, lenses, sound. I did not spend as much money as I should have on Peninsula Nights, which I don't regret, but I learned. And I'm also not a sound guy by, look, I'm a jack of all trades by nature, but sound was never my forte, and I've gotten so much better at sound. And like doing this shit here in the studio, this is a little different than like in the field audio recording. I'm not a boom guy, but at this point I would consider myself a sound guy because I have just dived down the rabbit hole to improve my production, my settings, my approach to cinema and like actually filming it. Like my production, I had to really just like, once again, I always say this, like double down. You don't want to settle for like, well, maybe I'll figure it out one day. It's like, fuck it, I'm going to figure it out now. I've made a lot of mistakes. I've failed a lot. I've invested a lot of time. And there's no failures in Peninsula Nights, but I'm saying like I see where my weak points were and where I could improve. And that's exactly what I did. I took a little bit more of an initiative to be like, all right, well, sound was like our troublesome thing. We did some dubbing, we did some other things. But yeah, that was kind of the thing where I'm like, if I could do one thing over, I'd probably invest a little bit more in the sound, which is something I've done. But anyways, lensing, super important. We did some great lens testing with the Zeiss. And it looks so good with even the adapter. It's interesting when you have a Sony, it's full frame, so you don't have any crop. One thing about the Red Komodo that I don't love is that when you use their EF mount, because now Canon does RF now, and I know if you're not a camera person, I get it, you're probably tuning out like who gives a fuck. But the RF mount is the natural mount, like the native mount for the Red Komodo, but it comes with an EF to RF because they understand that there's years of EF mount lenses that people want to pop onto the Komodo. It's great. I love that they did that. The only thing is that it creates a small crop. So like my 50 millimeter lens was actually something more like a 77 millimeter lens. So I'm floating this camera on a steady cam out in the streets at night, and I'm shooting at 77 millimeter, which was unbeknownst to me at the time. I understood there was a crop factor. I did not realize it till later. And I started thinking like, God damn, I did shoot it kind of tight, but I personally don't mind tight lensing either. I think it's very Hollywood. I think it's very classic. And I think it really lets you see, I think it was Cassavetes said the human face is the most interesting location. And I completely fucking agree. I kind of said this about Batman last week as well. It was shot so tight and so much of the coverage and so many of the scenes. And I was like, it just doesn't fucking like the extras. Like if you were an extra in some of these scenes, it's like, I'm sorry, like you're going to be able to tell like your family, like I'm that blurred blob in the background next to all those beautiful lights because the lensing was so tight, but it was purposeful. The story wasn't really about the extras dancing around at these fucking charity events. It was about Bruce Wayne and the, relationships he had with other people. And I'm actually referring mostly to The Dark Knight Rises, which I'll talk about a little bit later, but because, last week I got to, Batman Begins, Dark Knight, but we ended up following up with The Dark Knight Rises, which I ended up thinking was the best of the batch, but we'll get to that later. Anyways, The lensing, super important. I see it in a lot of directors I like. If you even watch, like, let's say Christopher Nolan, since he's topical at the moment, his lensing choices, he uses interesting lenses. He'll use like Hasselblad, maybe Angelo Optimos. He'll use Panavision. He uses C-series a lot from what I see. It's intentful, and there's a reason his movies look the way they look, and maybe there's a timelessness to them. I certainly thought so recently because I've been going through kind of this body of work. But yeah, and with all that being said, the Sony just doesn't create, in the Sony lens rather, does not create the same image say as Zeiss. And Zeiss has a reputation for this. I think they also make a lot of the RE fucking prime lenses, like their ultra primes and shit. So like they have a storied history in making a cinematic looking piece of glass, right? And you get the 3D pop effect. There's just I can't say enough good about it. Clearly, I'm riffing on this for fucking 10 minutes about this lens, but yeah, when you're going in to shoot something, and if you are somebody who's trying to learn cinematography, or like just somebody who maybe this goes more to cinematographers, because you could be a casual shooter and like for a lot of shit like podcasts or like documentary shit, maybe, or even I was gonna say even like YouTube content, maybe you don't need to go and buy a fucking prime lens. It will give you a cinematic look, yes, but like I've shot on so many different pieces of glass and it really depends. I've even shot great music videos on like kit lenses and they're good. I would probably go with more cinematic glass now, but it's all depends on what you're doing. For the podcast, if I was shooting on that Zeiss, it would look a little strange. I feel like it would take you guys out maybe, and this wouldn't feel it would feel almost like it takes you into a different place. I think, I don't remember who said it, but after 50, you kind of get that dream world effect that you're like, okay, well, this is obviously like a movie. This isn't supposed to be like presented to me like reality. So it all depends. Lensing is part of the psychology of cinema and filmmaking that I really like lean into. Because, for me as well with like cinema and film, I feel like I really like the basics always attracted me, like cinematic grammar, shots, like and style of shots and like what the purpose is and like building the moment. I've gotten really into doing one shot takes just through maybe just watching too many Cannes films. I don't know. But yeah, I just noticed that that's something, and probably a lot of mumblecore, but like one shot takes where you just don't cut and everybody kind of just pulls the moment. Peninsula Nights played heavily on that. And it wasn't even for economic reasons. Like I was fully prepared to shoot coverage for every single scene, shoot the scene like fucking 20 times. And like, you know what? You just don't need to some extent. It depends on what you're doing. Some movies call for it. Some you just really don't need to worry about that. You can get away with just doing like one long take. And I call them, I don't call them this just alone, but master takes, right? That's what we call them in the biz. And doing master takes, in my opinion, can create something that's really like in the moment gripping, because you can't get away from the characters. You have to listen. You're called and commanded to listen to them and what they're saying in the moment. It just doesn't end. It's all gas, no brakes. And sometimes getting swept up like that can just make the experience feel like it's happening in real time, or maybe just more real, and I've always been attracted to that. And what I've noticed, it's funny because I was reflecting a lot this week. I was reflecting on the Q&As during Peninsula Nights and like, what was I really seeking to say when I did those Q&As? And I kept coming back to one thing that I thought was really important, and that's the truth. I think art, you're trying to find the truth. You're trying to find the truths in life that are either really beautiful or maybe they're really ugly, but that's what it is. It's a storytellers are trying to present the truth or understand life, even through their work. It's an expression, sure, but it's also, it's a journey where you're seeking truth. And I think that's something that I've really thought about, even in like scripts I've been writing lately. Like I'm looking for truth, and I'm trying to have people that can help sell that truth to the audience. I don't mean sell them like, oh, like take my money. I mean like sell them the suspension of disbelief that gets people invested in something where they believe, even if it's fiction, that like it has weight, and palpable weight emotionally, with truths that are universal, hopefully, to everyone. And I think when you can watch a movie and identify with the film, or like see yourself in the movie to some extent, it doesn't have to be like, oh, I look like the person. I mean, like literally see yourself emotionally into a film or a character you can identify with. It makes you feel less alone. It also helps you have something you can lean on if you really feel like, I don't know, you go through headspaces all the time, right? Everybody does in life. And like sometimes having a movie or something or a character, like that's why people make it, because they have something to say, right? But then hopefully somebody else hears that and is like, oh, that's what I needed to hear right now. So filmmaking's fucking powerful. Yeah, this is a little bit of a random rant, but camera testing just makes you kind of like get back into production mindset. And like I've been writing, I've been doing production. I've got a great balance of all the shit I can do right now, which is great. Honestly, I used to think it's like I'm all in on writing, I'm all in on production. Even doing this podcast every week, I used to feel like I'd have to just do the podcast. Like, no, I don't. Like, I can do anything I want, and fuck, other things, I'll get off this tangent, but other things I did this week, settled up with the city. Like the pizza business is legit. The business license is there. I got to figure out the logistics now, like fucking like payment and website, all the boring shit, but we're almost there. So maybe I'll do a pop-up this weekend. If I do, I'll post it or some shit. But if not, we're going to have it up and running soon. It's just really, I want it to be like, I just don't want to fucking do it and have like 50 people show up and not be able to like deliver, you know? So there's a little bit of pressure in that sense, but excited about that. Actually, one of my friends, Christy, she came through this week. She was visiting from San Diego and we got coffee and then she came over and had a pizza and it was cool, you know, to share it with like somebody who also, I'll say this, like, once again, I feel like the podcast is like the bat signal. It has fucking brought people back into my life that I haven't talked to in a while. And like, it's funny because I started posting the podcast more on my personal story, which I wasn't like avoiding, but like, I was just like, you know what? I don't really want friends or family or people from the past thinking I'm trying to sell them anything. Cause that's really not what I'm doing. I'm just doing it for me. And we're what episode? I think it's number 35 today, dude, or 34. I think it's number 35. I think we're on episode number 35. It's pretty crazy. I think it's time to share with friends and family if they want to tune in. And, you know, she ended up following the podcast and I was like, yeah, she hit me up because she's in town. I was like, yeah, fuck it, dude. Probably haven't seen her in like before COVID, which I keep coming back to. I keep telling everybody, and especially on here, if you've been listening, COVID was like a weird time warp. We don't think about it enough. We probably don't talk about it enough. What the fuck was that? Why the fuck was that? You know, I get it, the virus, but it was super bad. I keep thinking about COVID now and it was just terrible for society. It really got us isolated. It really got us all away from each other. And I mean, I think it's led to even the division that people are talking about today. And it's crazy. I think the social impact of COVID is like, we're just starting to see how bad it really fucking was. But anyways, I won't go down that rabbit hole. I'll keep it cinematic convo. But yeah, seeing her was good. It was great to catch up. She has Bengal cats. I've got Bengal cats. Talked about that, just, you know, life, everything. And it's just, you know, it's a connectivity that I think everyone's seeking in their modern life is just the shit we were having before. It wouldn't have been that crazy for her to hit me up 4 or 5 years ago and be like, hey, like I'm in town. But now it's like, oh shit, like it's a reconnection, but it's also like, hey dude, let's kick it. Let's talk face to face and just, you know, see how everybody's doing. And I think that those like simple interactions, like they end up being, and we ended up hanging out. She ended up hanging out with Stevie, Christina and I, pizza, did the fucking cinnamon bites. We did the whole show and it was just a good hang. You know, I was expecting, oh yeah, I'll see her for an hour. And then, you know, she ended up coming over for what, like fucking 6 or 7 hours just to hang out. It was cool. And it was nice. And like, I feel like a lot of people's days these days, like you can go out and shit, but like, what just happened to just chilling? That's what I'm saying, I guess. It's nice that everybody can come together and just hang out and relax and just fucking, we were telling stories and just, you know, I checked my phone once or twice because of my fucking Ring cam or something. I felt very in the moment. I think that's what it was. I felt so engaged. And I've had a few of these interactions recently where like, it's been more of an engaging conversation with people face to face than it's just through like social media or messaging or like, oh, like casually going out. And it's nice. It's just good. And I want to start trying to find a way to curate more of that into my own life because I feel like just we can get very isolated as people. Like we want to do our thing. And I do. I like to stay focused and do my own research. I like to watch movies and chill and do my own thing. But like we really like people just need to start hanging out again like they used to. And like as you get older, I get it. But like, I don't know. I want to find a way to make the network more lively and connected in my own life. And you know, there's a lot of people that I've talked to like setting shit up and we just haven't. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? Like it's time we like commit to these things and really set shit up and fucking kick it. So that's something I'm going to work a little harder on. Also, I do think because of Stevie's health problems, like it's been a little harder for us to have people over. Thankfully, he was feeling great the day Christy came through. So he came, or he didn't come. He fucking was just there and was enjoying it, you know, which was good. I also think it was healthy for him as much as it is for everyone else to just, you know, socialize. And yeah, I'm making it sound like I'm super antisocial. I'm not antisocial. I am just, I'm working. I'm trying to focus on the grind. And for me personally, I think it was healthy to have like, you know, a long hangout where I really like, you know, the biggest distraction I had is I had to whip up some pizza dough and fucking sauce and cook it. And like, that's not a distraction. That's like, I think it's an art. And I actually heard somebody say cooking is a craft and not an art, but like, fuck that, dude. It's a little bit of a craft. It's a little bit of an art. And so is filmmaking. So is everything. So if you feel like you're fucking making the most groundbreaking statement saying that, then I don't know. Like, come on, dude. Anyways, that was cool. What else did I fucking do this week? I feel like I got out. I think I went to Target. It sounds so lame. I went to Target. I bought like a fucking ton of Spindrift. That's been my like choice fucking sparkling water lately. I've been trying to cut, just like diet hard just for the holidays and shit. You know, Christmas pictures are coming up. You know, you want to look good. And it's been tough, but yeah, you know, Spindrifts is like a nice crutch. There is like some trace amounts of sugar in it, but it's fucking from natural lemons. So like I'm not gonna beat myself up over drinking a fucking lemon, like natural fucking lemon juice. You know what I mean? But anyways, let's see what I got here on the old note skis. Okay, yeah, so it's just got my list of movies I've watched. I'll start with this since I was already talking about it. I was talking about Dark Knight Rises. I'll kind of pick up where I left off last week. Love Batman Begins. It was all about fear and identity and being afraid of your past and confronting past fears. You know, timeless, right? Dark Knight. I didn't delve as heavily into it, but like, you know, the Joker's the agent of chaos. Batman is supposed to be, you know, control, and even like the police force everybody, and they lose control so quickly in the film. And like that's the whole point, is like everything seems okay until somebody, you know, pushes control off a fucking cliff and chaos takes over and the balance is not there. Society needs balance, you know, the scales of justice per se, but like it does need it. This one, Dark Knight Rises, was different. It didn't talk about those themes as much. If anything, I thought it was a redemption story. It was a moving on story from past trauma. You know, Bruce Wayne at this point hasn't worked in 8 years. He takes the blame for fucking Harvey Dent's death, and now he's just fucking kind of living in isolation. He's a recluse. It seems like he's had some interactions with people on a professional level, obviously not as Batman, but those people are there to find him because it's been so long since their investments, and like, is he serious, right? And I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but the Marion Cotillard character, she is like kind of like his love interest in it. She ends up being bad in the end. If you haven't seen it, sorry, but this movie came out in 2012. But yeah, I think her name's Miss Tate. God, I can't remember her fucking first name. But anyways, I digress. You know, he's reclusive. He's isolated. He's got people like Miss Tate looking for him and other people on the board of like Wayne Enterprises. And like, you can tell that he's just like, also Rachel, his love interest, dies in Dark Knight. So like, he's lost in life. He has nothing really. His fortune's dwindling because of his lack of care. He's apathetic. He's at an all-time high of apathy for him, right? All-time low. And he has, you know, Catwoman comes, Anne Hathaway's character, Selena Kyle, and she like robs him, and it kind of spurs him to get back out in the field because he has to discover what she was doing. And it all comes back to him having to be Batman again. And Alfred even tells him, like, dude, you have a fucking death wish. I don't think you want to go out. He's like, I don't think you have to go back out there. I think you want to, and I think that you'd be okay with dying out there. He's suicidal. Like, low key, Bruce Wayne is at the point where he's like, I don't have the love of my life. I don't have any purpose. What more is there? I guess I'll die doing what I think is stoic or heroic, whatever he thinks, right? Being Batman and dying on the battlefield is the blade and the sword he wants to fall on, right? And I think it's just interesting because his character goes from such an apathetic person who still tries, the only thing he thinks he can do is care for Gotham. And he thinks that's the burden that he bears. And even Alfred tells him, like, yo, like, I think people need Bruce Wayne more than they need Batman right now. Like, and it cuts to like an orphanage he used to fund. It's going out of business and all these other things. Like, all of his life is slipping away. Even the people that have investments with him, he has been negligent in his life and he has not tried to respect himself. He's let everything slide away because of his sadness or whatever you want to call it, his trauma. And the movie, if you've seen it, you've seen it. I don't need to explain every fucking beat, but like, he goes through a redemption arc. He gets his spirit quite literally and back quite literally broken by Bane. Bane's dialogue, by the way, is just fucking insane. Christopher Nolan, Jonathan Nolan, David S. Goyer, these guys are some of the best writers, period. Every line just, it fucking hits like a fucking hammer, dude. It's just like, God damn, like, it's maybe the most philosophical film I've ever seen. And I know it sounds ridiculous because it's Batman, but like, maybe it's the way it's digestible. There's probably more philosophical films, but for me, I'm going to say this is probably one of the more philosophical films I've seen because once again, the messages are timeless. They transcend Gotham City and Batman and Bruce Wayne. They transcend all that. It could be used to describe any society, any city. It could be Rome. It could be America. It doesn't matter. And I think that's what's so powerful about these films is the emotional weight and perspective they help carve for even the villain. A lot of the times you find yourself agreeing with what the villain is saying. How can that be, right? It's because what they're saying makes sense, but it's in an idealized world that doesn't exist. And that's why we have this dynamic of, you know, truth and justice. You have to have people brought to accountability, and that's the only way to actually do things. And always these terrorists, and it doesn't have to just be Bane, you could be talking about any terrorist group in the world, they think they're doing something good. They think it's righteous what they're doing. Terrorism isn't for the sake of fucking, you know, let's scare people. It is to scare people into agreeing with your message. You can scare people with fear, Fear is a weapon. They weaponize fear through terror, which is literally terrorism. And Bane is a terrorist. Even in the description of the movie, it says like terrorist Bane. It's just crazy. And he is truly the best Batman villain. Like when I was watching it, I was like, you know what, Joker, like he gets all the cred. And look, Heath Ledger's death, terrible, just exceptional performance followed by a terrible thing. I love Heath Ledger. I have held the Joker in high regard forever. But I do feel like there's something about Bane. They're totally different, one, but there's something about Bane that was just so terrifying. Like maybe more scary because of maybe his intellectual capacity. He was able to really, really dig into Batman on a psychological level. Like the Joker pissed him off and he confused him and he played tricks. But Bane really fucked with his psyche. Like he got down to the core of like, I know why you are the way you are. I know how to fucking manipulate you. And when Batman comes back to Gotham to save it at the end, Bane is fucking shocked. He's like, there's no fucking way. And it kind of is a testament to like everything that builds up through the film. Will, just desire, and also like maybe the desire to do good. Bruce Wayne heals himself, not for himself. And part of it is for himself because there's a little bit of selfishness in it, but he does it because he knows there's a higher calling. Gotham needs him. And he finally understands like his purpose and like the whole narrative throughout all three films. It's like, you know what, like the sacrifice he's willing to make is for the greater good, period. And it makes Batman look good in the end. He takes a nuclear bomb, drives off into the sunset, apparently dies. He does not. He comes back in the last beat. And it's important that we mention that because when he comes back in the last beat, we finally see that Bruce Wayne has been able to move on from his past trauma. Batman is representative of his, complex PTSD, if you want to call it that. He was stuck thinking that his whole life had to be a certain way, and he was able to release from that when he felt like he had not only served his purpose, but he had defeated evil, the fucking League of Shadows, etc. And I don't know, it's just so full circle, and I could go on and on about this movie, but he reinvents himself in the end. He gets away with Selena Kyle, Catwoman. He's sitting across from Alfred at this cafe. It's a beautiful moment, and it's foreshadowed earlier in the film. Also, the emotional weight of The Dark Knight Rises was fucking insane. They save in the last 5 minutes. They show Alfred crying at Bruce Wayne's grave, apologizing to the parents for failing him. Super fucking intense. It cuts to, the commissioner fucking talking. Gordon is talking about him with the statue reveal, showing like how Batman was an honorable person. Also, Bruce Wayne reveals to Commissioner Gordon that he is Bruce Wayne and not just Batman. Powerful, powerful imagery. And what else was there? We find out at the end that, Bruce left all of his money to Alfred, gives the kids the Wayne Manor as an orphanage forever. It has to be, in perpetuity. It will never be something else. A home for children that grew up without parents. And then on top of that, they do the reveal with Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character being Robin. And like, this is all probably old news, but it was just so powerful. Even seeing it now, I'm like, holy fuck. You saved that little detail for the last moments of the film. Talk about ending it on a high note. It just it leaves you with goosebumps. And the last thing you see is, Robin kind of taking the helm of what will be maybe the next Batman. He will be the Robin, obviously. But yeah, it was just interesting. And honestly, the movie it fucking banged, dude. I really even just watching it now. It'd been a minute since I'd seen them. And I was like, fuck, dude. Like these movies, I remember why they were making $1 billion in the box office. And they were on people's minds for years. I remember it used to be like memes. It's like your 100th time watching like Dark Knight or something. And it's like, yeah, it's just every dude in the world. we love this shit. I know ladies like it too, but I've talked to a lot of my friends about Batman. It's just like one of those things. It's like a guy thing maybe. And not just a guy thing. I don't want to make it sound sexist. It's not just a guy thing, but like dudes love fucking Batman. They see themselves in him and they want to be heroic and full of justice. And it's just true. It was male ego. Anyways, Dark Knight Rises, I don't need to rank it. You already know, 10 out of fucking 10, maybe 11 out of 10. Best in the fucking series by far. And they're each good, but this one, there's something special going on. You can tell Christopher Nolan, he took time on that one and really came back and knocked it out of the park. Honorable mention, I watched it this week. I've seen this movie a lot. We were kind of coming off the Christopher Nolan high. Right, all right, no more superhero movies, no more capes. What can we watch? And Christine was like, oh, Shutter Island. It was on there. I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's watch Shutter Island. I haven't seen it probably since it came out. I've seen it throughout the years, but probably since it came out. Shutter Island, directed by Martin Scorsese. You already know him. Writers is Leda Kalogridis. If I don't know you off the top of my head, I always fuck your name up. And then it's based on a novel, Dennis Lehane, starring Leo DiCaprio, Mark Ruffalo, Ben Kingsley, Michelle Williams, Max von Sydow. And I think Max von Sydow plays the evil German guy who's like another psychologist or whatever, and it's alluded that he might be a Nazi, which would make sense in context of the film, but also maybe not because this movie was so fucking confusing. If you have seen Shutter Island, you kind of know how it turns out. Well, fuck it. Okay, look, this is a 2010. I'm going to spoil it. If you've seen Shutter Island, you know that Leo's fucking crazy, right? But the movie is under the pretense that he is actually a legitimate, like, investigator coming to the island. I think he's FBI. I can't remember. But whatever. He comes to the island. He's investigating this fucking disappearance of a prisoner at the island or at the medical facility. And it turns out that they can't find her, and it keeps escalating, and there keeps being like notes and all this crazy shit. And like none of it really makes sense. It kind of does, but it gradually makes less and less sense. And you start just fucking being like, I remember Christine the whole time was like, what is going on? What is the point? And I was thinking in my mind, I'm like, wait till you see the end. But even in my mind, I was like, this is fucking like hurting my brain to watch because nothing's adding up. Nothing's really connecting. Kinda. There's like a loose thread where you're like, that's what they were doing? Scene by scene, though, it was like, what the fuck? Like, it felt almost aimless. In watching it this time, I was like, wow, Scorsese's so good because he literally puts you in the head of a crazy person. None of this really makes sense. That's probably what it feels like to be like schizo or fucking so traumatized that your mind is playing tricks on you, or you're literally building narratives to cope. And that's what happened in this movie. His character builds a narrative to cope with his fucking, wife. In the movie, Leo's wife drowns their children in the backyard of their house, like in a pond or like a lake. And he comes home and he's so upset that he kills her. And it's kind of like a kind of justified murder, but like there's no way coming back from that as a man. Like you see your dead children in the water. Your wife is sitting there trying to like justify her actions or even just tell you about him. And his reaction was to shoot her. It's like, fuck, like I get it. Or maybe stab. I believe he shot her. But besides the point, it's like, yeah, dude, like that will drive anyone insane. So like when it finally reveals that he's built this up in his head, it's a great commentary on mental health, but also just like kind of like the psychiatric wards that used to exist back in the day before, that shit got shut down. They make you think that he's under some sort of, how do I say this? Manipulation by the doctor's experimental care. Let's call it that, like lobotomies and medicine and etc. And maybe he is. We don't know for sure. And that's what I think was so good about the movie. And maybe I'm misinterpreting it, but I remember just like the ending just being so ambiguous, where it seems as if he really had been making all this up in his own mind. And I don't know, watching it this time around, I really saw how good Scorsese was at like misleading the audience and making you feel as if what he was trying to do with the film was very intentional. And of course it was. You don't just go out and start shooting shit and saying like, fuck, maybe it'll work. And sometimes you do, but not really, especially not at his caliber. He's trying to make a hit, right? Or at least something that would go in his catalog and be memorable. And I think Shutter Island is memorable. I think it was fucking confusing, and I think it was intentional. And yeah, masterfully done. I don't know if Thelma edited that film. I want to say she did, but I mean, dude, the editing was great. Like I said, the movie was just like well crafted for what it was trying to say and what it was trying to do. And I think if you look at it from that perspective, that's what makes it so great, is he was able to capture like the mind of somebody who's truly mentally disturbed and put you there. And it kind of makes you feel a little crazy when you watch it. I think that's the real money. Makes you feel a little nuts because you're watching it and you're like, fuck, like what am I crazy? Am I not getting this? And it's like, no, that's just like, mental health can really fuck with your mind, and he nailed it. What else did I watch this week? I got to see Darren Aronofsky's new film, Caught Stealing. I don't know if you guys heard about this movie. This was based on the novel by Charlie Hudson. Wait, no, that can't be right. No, this is not the same movie. This is fucking saying Black Swan here. Sometimes that happens on the notes. This is this movie with Austin Butler, Zoe Kravitz. I think Liev Schreiber's in it. That one dude from Django. I can't remember his name. He's great. He's also in Breakdown. But Caught Stealing, Darren Aronofsky. Really interesting. I've seen a lot of his movies over the years, like Black Swan, fucking Pie. What's that other movie? Requiem for a Dream, The Wrestler. Wrestler's dope. 16 millimeter. Mickey Rourke, crazy. I know Mickey's got a bad rep right now because of that Big Brother shit, which was super out of line. I don't know if you saw him talking. I think it was Jojo Siwa, but he's like, I don't know how old Mickey Rourke's got to be, like 70, but he's saying the most dumb shit to this chick on that show. But anyways, that's besides the point. We'll get back to fucking Caught Stealing. Caught Stealing with Darren Aronofsky. Really good. Austin Butler, I feel like, and everyone knows it, he just was having a hard time letting go of Elvis. His voice was doing the fucking Elvis voice all the time, and he just like couldn't fucking abandon it. And it's like he finally moved on. And this movie was dope. It's kind of the type of movie that I feel like was really popular in like the 90s, like late 90s, 2000s. Like everything, this is like I call it post Tarantino. Tarantino used to, not used to, but when he came out, Tarantino was making movies that were very different. He made his characters talk like real people. Usually you watch a crime movie and it's very like the criminal is just so hardened and so tough that they couldn't say something fucking funny. And then Tarantino comes along, he's like, my criminals are going to talk about shooting fucking heroin and eating cheeseburgers in France. That really like had not been done in the capacity that these bad guys could just be normal, you know? And I think that influenced a lot of people after that. Everybody wanted their smooth talking criminal movie or crime movie where everybody's so fucking cool and so fucking real. And it's a good thing. I think it's a timely thing. I think we've moved on a bit, but Caught Stealing kind of had a little bit of that DNA in it. I feel like there's a breath of that within the film. And it was cool to see Austin Butler play like, he played a pretty average Joe. He was like a bartender, but living in New York. And his character is interesting because throughout the film, it'll flash back to like he had a car accident, right? And it kind of shows why he's an alcoholic. His character doesn't like to drive. This won't ruin the movie for you, but there was a death related to the car accident. And he's got the guilt of that. And he also was supposed to be a pro baseball player, and it kind of fucked his career up. You know, he busted his leg. He was like a true prospect for the MLB coming out of high school. You know, he was hot shit, really good. Obviously, in the film, it depicts him, but he had like a hell of a hit. And yeah, long story short, he's bartending. He's dating Zoe Kravitz, and his roommate, not his roommate, but when he gets home, the guy across from him, the apartment across from him, is like, hey, dude, like, I need you to watch my cat. I'm going to be going out of town. My dad had a stroke. I'm going back to the UK. And he's like, fuck, man, I don't think I can do this. And anyways, he and Zoe end up taking the cat in. She brings it over to his apartment. They, hook up, have a wild night, and then kind of goes on with their day. And it turns out that somebody's looking for not the roommate, the guy who lives across the apartment, this character, Russ. And whatever Russ is caught up in is bad. And this kid indirectly becomes, the Austin Butler character becomes collateral damage in regards to the situation. So Caught Stealing is an interesting name because the movie's kind of about like he got caught up in somebody else trying to steal. And it's kind of a misunderstanding, but it's like a crime caper, you know? I won't over explain it, but the characters were good. It was very New Yorky. It was cool. Austin Butler's character is like from California. It's ambiguous to exactly where he's from, I believe, but it seems like Bay Area or something. He's wearing Giants hat. So it's cool. It's like close to home. And his character was really believable. I also think he broke away from like trying to maybe be so, I wouldn't even call it method, but like, I think a lot of these young actors that are like, you know, I wouldn't call them so young, but like, you know, the under 35 crowd are in that range. You're really trying like hard to make it great. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like I respect it. Even as Elvis, I mean, Butler is an extremely convincing Elvis. I mean, you can say what you want, but I love Baz Luhrmann. And I think that he made a fucking great movie with Elvis. But yeah, they're giving it their all. And in this movie, it felt like he was giving it his all, but he didn't have to go so deep into a character where like, it felt like he was like, trying to be someone. It just felt organic and natural. And honestly, it was probably my favorite depiction of Austin Butler. I mean, I loved him in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, albeit a small role. It was really good. And I think as Elvis, that was probably his most standout and profound performance to date. But this movie was really good. And also, you're talking about like an Oscar winner with Aaron Fronsky. And like, I don't know. I just think overall, the movie really delivers. It had a nice script. There's twists and turns. You get to see some cool actors in it. Bad Bunny's in it, you know. For what it's worth, I think Bad Bunny's actually a pretty good dramatic actor. I liked him more in this than say like Happy Gilmore, and I know I saw him in something else. Can't think of it off the top of my head. It wasn't Saturday Night. But anyways, yeah, he's good. You know, I liked his character in this. It was believable. I think he has an interesting career ahead of him. I actually think Bad Bunny could be, it was Bullet Train. That was the other film I saw him in. I thought he was good in that too. But I think Bad Bunny, if he sticks with it, he'll have a very interesting career. I'd like to see him do something even, I mean, this is a pretty great movie to get into. You got a really like known director who's got a great, you know, career, AFI grad. I mean, I can't say enough good about him. But besides the point, I think if Bad Bunny really continues to do what he's doing with his acting, he could really shape up to be one of the better actors, you know, in the scene right now. And he always plays here's the deal. I haven't seen Bad Bunny lead. I've only seen him play more minor roles, and perhaps that's because he's more focused on his music career right now. But I don't really listen to Bad Bunny's music. I know it's popular. I see he's playing the halftime show. It's nothing against him, but yeah, I'd be curious to see where he takes his acting career because I personally think he's got a lot of potential, and he surprises me every time I see him on screen. He's not doing something that's just blown me fucking away yet, but there's something about him. He is an interesting person to watch on screen. Same with Austin Butler. Same with Zoe Kravitz. I actually thought this was the first time I'd seen a Zoe Kravitz film where I feel like she really played an authentic version of herself. I keep saying that. I feel like everybody in this movie, like the pressure, maybe it was the environment on set seemed lower. But yeah, I loved her in the Batman. I thought she was great in the studio. She was really funny in the studio, actually. I'm trying to think else. She did that movie. Is it Don't Blink? I think she may have directed it as well. Maybe she only directed it and wasn't in the film. But dude, that was a great movie too. She's also like, look at all these people are so cool and interesting and good at what they do, and it's just cool. This is also why I continue to watch shit. I've been trying to like actively watch new shit very frequently lately because I tend to go back to shit I've seen. I'll rewatch a show or I'll rewatch a movie I've seen 100 times. And I think that's like, it's comfort, but it's also very passive, and this goes into everything else I've been saying about connection and engagement. I think being engaged with the content you're watching, the people you're talking to, the connectivity in life is so much better than just living the passive, life where you just revisit old shit. You're kind of just like another day. You can get a little Groundhog Day like that. And I'm guilty. I can admit it. So right now, I don't know. To relate this all back to my life, and I'll say this, Caught Stealing was a great movie. 10 out of 10, maybe even a 9 out of 10. I don't want to overhype it. For what it's worth, it's a type of movie I really enjoy, and I thought it was great. But yeah, I'm actively engaging with watching new films like this, and like I think this one was really great. I'd like watch it again for sure. If it's late at night and I want something that's not going to be like fucking too crazy to just throw on, like this is a good movie. I wouldn't call it a sleeper. I think it's a movie worth watching. If you're trying to find something new to watch, go watch Caught Stealing. At least do it for Butler and fucking Kravitz, and the rest of the cast is good too. Like everything's good. Caught Stealing, great movie. Yeah. Now what else did I do this week? Okay, so Love Is Blind came out. I wanted to talk about this because I was thinking about it. I was watching with Christine. Love Is Blind. I don't know if you guys watch it. There's been a couple good seasons. The last like 3 or 4 seasons have kind of just been whatever, like super mid-range. But this new season 9, which I can't believe they're on fucking season 9, they cranked this show out fast. It's been interesting. It takes place in Denver. They always choose a new city, and this one was interesting. You can just tell like cities have different types of people. There's a lot of like bros and like whatever, the type of people that will live there. Like, what was the season before? The last season was Minnesota, like Minneapolis, Twin Cities. Like, dude, it was just a completely different type of people. Like, the women were different, the men were different. Just the way they talked to each other was different. The accents were different, obviously. But the Denver one's funny. It's just like a lot of like, bros and like, I wouldn't even call them hoes because that's not the right way to put it. But like, just very modern. It's very modern. And I thought it was interesting to watch. The drama this season has been out of fucking control, which is like, look, I'm not a big reality show person, but like every now and then one of these shows hooks me, and Love Is Blind tends to be a little bit more of like, a lot of people I know watch it. So like when I talk to people, I'm able to, test the temperature. Oh, you see it? What do you think? And like, I don't know. If I'm going to watch one of these reality shows, this tends to be the one that comes up and we're like watching it as a group. And it's like, it's fun to watch, but like, I think what's so interesting is like, it just goes into modern dating. These people are talking through a fucking wall. I equate it to like, and you can't see the person, right? If you've seen it, you know the drill. But it's like, dude, it'd be like calling somebody on the phone that you've never seen and talking to them for like a month and then being like, I think, or I don't even know how long they're in the pause, maybe a week or two. I think the whole experiment might be a month. But either way, think about calling somebody for like a week straight and thinking that you're fucking going to get married to them and then going and meeting them, the doors open and you're like, I don't know if I like them or not. It is very strange, the experiment or whatever you want to call it. It's a legitimate experiment. It's always surprising to see how people react, and it's always surprising to see how people like actually communicate within the pods. And like this season particularly, like we're able to see what the other person can't see, right? And as an audience, like Stevie, Christine, and I were all just like, dude, like I can't believe this girl's gonna choose this fucking guy, or vice versa. I can't believe this guy's gonna fucking dump this chick for this other girl, because we can see. Maybe we're more intuitive because we have more information as the audience, but you can really see like, oh, that's not gonna work out, or this is gonna work out, and like. Yeah, love might be blind, but people aren't. Like we as an audience can see like the writing on the wall, and it's hard. I get it. If somebody especially is emotionally invested or whatever in the person, especially through this experiment, maybe they can't see it for themselves. But yeah, it was very, very fucking interesting so far. I think we banged out all the episodes that are already out. But yeah, if you don't watch it, give Love Is Blind a try. It's a weird experiment. I'm sure you've seen it at this point. We're on season 9, but like, yeah. It was very interesting. It really is like a mirror to society. You can kind of see like how people think about dating in the modern day, or even relationships in the modern day. And if, for what it's worth, it's pretty funny. Like some of the characters are like actually, not even characters, some of the people in the show are actually like there for the right reasons. Some of them are not there for the right reasons. And you can tell pretty quick. Like there's like one dude on the show this season who's literally like telling some girl he loves her, and then like she like leaves or some shit, and then like he goes to the next chick and does the same exact thing. I'm like, bro, when this replays for you, you are fucking cooked. You are cooked, my guy. Like there is no coming back from this fucking scenario. And then you see like he manipulates one girl into going with him over this other guy, and this other guy, like you could tell he actually fucking like he had made the love connection, and it's fucking crazy. And it's so crazy because you're watching it thinking like, I can't believe this could happen to somebody. And you don't know till you're there. And fuck, I'll tell you what, it's wild. It's definitely one of the crazier shows that I've seen on TV. And yeah, it's a little cheesy. They play a fucking pop song between everything. It's so on the nose, all this shit. But you know what? Take it for what it is. It's a great show. And honestly, if you're keeping up, I'll keep talking about Love is Blind this fucking next few, because these seasons are quick. They usually last like, I think, a month or maybe 2 months. Whatever Netflix can do to get their churn, right? They need those dollars. But yeah, we'll fucking talk more Love is Blind. For now, though, if you haven't seen it, I think there's like 4 or 6 episodes out, and they're pretty long, but it's kind of a chill out show. You don't have to watch like every fucking beat. Sometimes I'll leave the room and come back. I'm like, I get it. They're fucking talking. They're chatting. You know, it's just like somebody's recording you on a date. And like some people also this season have said the dirtiest shit, which like I respect them not holding back, but there's also this one chick, I'll say this. She kind of tells a guy she's like talking to another guy or has a boyfriend or something back home, and the guy's just like, I don't know if I could deal with that. Like, and then she immediately just goes into trying to seduce him. I'm like, dude, this is fucking crazy. And he's falling for it. I'm like, dude, she's saying the nastiest shit to you right now for everyone in the world to hear. I don't know. It just seemed a little weird. And I'm not judging. It's just like, you can't help but judge when you're watching these shows. You get the freedom to do it. But anyways, guys, I think that's about all I got. I'm Devin Thomas. This is another episode of Unscripted. I will talk to you all next week.